For 6 months, police knew him only by a name they made up. The Mountain Dew Man, a shadow, a ghost, a drifter who slipped through the trees and vanished before anyone could get close. But on April 18th, 2022, on a quiet trail in Concord, New Hampshire, the ghost stepped out of the woods, and 2 innocent people never came home. This is the full story of Steve and Djeswende Reid, the man who hunted them, the detectives who refused to give up, and the case that reached all the way to the Supreme Court. Chapter 1. The couple who lived to serve. To understand the weight of this tragedy, you have to know who Steve and Djeswende Reid were. Steve grew up in New Hampshire. Djeswende grew up in Togo, West Africa. 2 people born on different continents, both drawn to service, humanity, and adventure. They met in Washington, D.C. in the early 1980s. When he came to the U.S. on an athletic scholarship, Steve had just returned from serving in the Peace Corps. Their first connection? Basketball. But what held them together for decades was something deeper. A shared mission to make life better for people who had nothing. Steve spent more than 30 years with USAID, helping communities across Africa. When he worked with refugees, people displaced by war, famine, and political violence. Friends said they had peaceful souls, people who moved quietly, helped quietly, lived quietly. After retiring, they moved back to Concord. They wanted to be close to family, to enjoy slow mornings, quiet trails, and the kind of peace they had earned after decades overseas. Every afternoon, they walked the same path. The Marsh Loop Trail, a gentle 1.5-mile loop through the woods. It was supposed to be safe, beautiful, predictable. On April 18th, 2022, at 2:22 p.m., they stepped out of their apartment for their usual walk. It would be their last. Chapter 2. The Vanishing. When Steve didn't show up to his weekly tennis match on Wednesday, his sister, Susan Forey, a former state police major, felt a chill instantly. He was consistent. He was reliable. He never missed. She tried calling. No answer. Tried texting. Nothing. Within hours, she filed a missing persons report. Police launched a search that grew by the hour. Drones, K-9 units, volunteers, trail sweeps. But the Reids were nowhere. For 2 long days, Concord held its breath. And then Thursday evening came, April 21st. A search team noticed disturbed leaves off the main trail. They brushed them aside and found Steve and Djeswende, both shot multiple times, both hidden under leaves and branches, covered deliberately. Concord had just seen its first double homicide in 40 years. And the killer? He was already gone. Chapter 3. A Strange Encounter. Here is where the story takes a disturbing turn. During the search, before the bodies were found, officers had encountered a man living in a tent deep in the woods. He said his name was Arthur Kelly. Young, thin, dirty clothes, carrying Mountain Dew Code red cans. He claimed he hadn't seen anything. His tent looked ordinary at first glance. No one realized yet that they were speaking to the killer himself. The next day, after the bodies were found, officers returned to talk to him again. But he was gone, completely. His tent, burned. Inside the charred remains, investigators found partially melted Mountain Dew cans, burned debris, and 9mm shell casings, the same type used to kill Steve and Djeswende. They ran the name Arthur Kelly. Nothing. The name didn't exist. And whoever he was, he had just burned his entire life and disappeared into the trees. Police needed an identity. Chapter 4. The Birth of the Mountain Dew Man. Detective Mark Brown took on the case personally. He dug through thousands of hours of surveillance footage. And then he saw him, a man matching Arthur Kelly's description entering Walmart, buying only two things: propane, Mountain Dew code red, over and over, 47 times. A ghost leaving a trail of neon red soda cans behind him. On April 18th, the day of the murders, cameras captured this same man leaving a Shaw's supermarket at 2:32 p.m., 10 minutes after the Reids left home, walking directly toward the trails. Police still didn't know his name, so they made one: the Mountain Dew Man. Months passed. The case chilled, but Detective Brown never stopped digging. Finally, a tiny breakthrough: a credit card used for an online purchase. Same fake Arthur Kelly name, but the billing trace led to a real person: Logan Clegg. When Brown pulled up photos from Utah, it was him. The Mountain Dew Man finally had a real name, but he was long gone. Chapter 5. The Chase. For 6 months, Clegg traveled like a ghost. No address, no job, fake identities, moving state to state. Then on October 11th, 2022, Homeland Security alerted police. Logan Clegg purchased a one-way ticket to Berlin, Germany. Departure in 3 days. Detectives had two choices: request a warrant, which could take days, or track him immediately without one. They couldn't afford to lose him again. Detective Gorham called Verizon's emergency hotline and requested Clegg's phone location. It pinged in Burlington, Vermont. October 12th, officers found him inside a public library, searching Concord, New Hampshire news. He was checking to see if police were still after him, and they were standing right behind him. Clegg didn't resist, but what officers found in his backpack told the entire story. Loaded Glock 17, $7,000 cash, a one-way plane ticket, a fake Romanian passport, camping gear, burned ID cards. The ghost was caught, but the story was far from over. Chapter 6. The Drifter's Dark Past. Investigators dove into Clegg's history. It only got darker. At age 12, his father died by suicide, a trauma that changed him. He drifted through life, dropped out of school, worked random jobs, lived in tents, obsessed with guns, practiced shooting in woods. In 2018, he stabbed a man in Spokane. It was ruled self-defense, but he fled before prosecutors could notify him. He vanished into thin air. By 2020, he was in Utah, arrested for shoplifting with a stolen gun, arrested again for burglary with another stolen gun and lockpicks. He told officers, "I burglarized to sustain myself." He was put on probation, told to stay in Utah for 3 years. He lasted 7 months, then fled to Europe. Came back in late 2021, got a job at McDonald's in Concord, then quit and retreated into the woods. Witnesses reported hearing gunshots in the forest. He had bought the Glock with a fake ID, and the trails he lived near, the same ones the Reids walked daily. Chapter 7. The Trial, a Battle of Stories. October 2nd, 2023. The courtroom was packed. Clegg sat at the defense table, stiff, cold, and motionless. Senior Assistant Attorney General Megan Hageman opened with force. This is not a whodunit. Logan Clegg murdered this innocent couple. The defense pushed back. This is the wrong man. No motive. No conclusivelistics. Reasonable doubt everywhere. For 13 days, witnesses took the stand. Key testimony, Nan Nutt. Around 2:47 p.m. on April 18th, she heard gunshots. Minutes later, she saw a man walking quickly from that direction. She helped create a police sketch. It matched surveillance footage of Clegg perfectly. Forensics. The bullets removed from the Reids were too damaged to match Clegg's gun, but the shell casings from the murder scene and his burn camp matched each other. Same gun, same shooter. Evidence piles up. Fake names, fake passport, burned campsite, one-way ticket, attempted escape to Germany, leaked repeatedly, Glock purchased using a fake ID. Piece by piece, the prosecution built a wall around him. Chapter 8, Guilty. October 23rd, the verdict. Guilty on all counts. 4 counts of second-degree murder, felon in possession of a firearm, falsifying evidence. The Reid family cried. The courtroom watched. Clegg didn't react. 2 months later, at sentencing, family members addressed him directly. You took my brother from me. You destroyed our family. Clegg stared straight ahead, emotionless, remorseless. Judge John Kissinger gave him the maximum. 50 years to life for each murder. Sentences consecutive. 100 years minimum. He will die in prison. Chapter 9. The Supreme Court Twist. Just when the community hoped for closure. Another twist. Clegg's defense appealed his conviction, arguing the Verizon phone ping violated the Fourth Amendment because police didn't get a warrant. In November 2024, the Supreme Court heard arguments. If the court sides with him, his arrest could be invalid. Key evidence could be thrown out. The case may be reopened. If the court sides with the state, his conviction stands. The emergency phone ping becomes a legal precedent. The Reid family waits. Concord waits. Everyone waits. Chapter 10. Why? This is the question that still haunts investigators. Why did he kill them? There was no robbery, no confrontation, no connection, no motive, no interaction. Some say paranoia. Some say isolation. Some say psychopathy. A body language expert testified Clegg showed zero emotion when discussing the murders. A forensic psychiatrist suggested antisocial personality disorder. Maybe there is no why. Maybe the Reids were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time and crossed paths with a violent drifter who felt nothing. Chapter 11, Legacy. Steve and Winnie spent decades helping others, thousands of people across Africa. They survived war zones. They survived disease. They survived dangerous field missions. They came home to New Hampshire for peace and were murdered on a trail less than half a mile from their apartment. But their legacy didn't die. Their Peace Corps friends held memorials. USAID honored their service. The community returned to the trails. Their families continue their humanitarian work. The Mountain Dew man took their lives, but he could never take what they built. Ending. On April 18th, 2022, Steve and Winnie walked into the woods. They expected sunshine, fresh air, and time together. They never came home, but their love, their decades of service, their impact, all of it lives on. And that is something Logan Clegg can never erase. In memory of Stephen and Djeswende Reid, their legacy of service lives on.